When Elon Musk said that he would reveal 15 products we'd stop buying once we learned how they're made, he wasn't kidding. At the very top of his list is seafood. Once a self-proclaimed fish lover, Elon admitted in an interview that he couldn't stomach his favorite food anymore after uncovering the shocking truths about the industry. They kept the secret, and now it's time we talk about it. The seafood industry may look pristine on the surface, but behind the scenes, it's a different story. The journey from ocean to table is far from straightforward and is riddled with practices that are both unsustainable and frankly unsettling. It starts with the catch. Small-scale fishers may handle their haul with care, but industrial fishing operations are another matter entirely. Massive trawlers comb the oceans, prioritizing quantity over quality in their pursuit. They capture everything in their path: tons of fish, endangered species, and unintended marine life. This bycatch is devastating to ocean ecosystems, disrupting the delicate balance of marine life. But the story doesn't end at sea. Once caught, the fish are transported to processing facilities in conditions that would make anyone cringe. Picture this fish dumped onto truck floors, jostled together in tight, unsanitary spaces, often sitting in pools of dirty water. It's not just unappealing, it's downright unhygienic. The lack of care during transportation and handling raises serious questions about what we're putting on our plates. It's easy to turn a blind eye, but the hidden costs, both ethical and environmental, of this industry can no longer be ignored. If you want to enjoy seafood guilt-free, the solution lies in choosing sustainable, ethically sourced options, or, as Elon might suggest, perhaps it's time to rethink fish altogether. You all know that margarine is often marketed as a healthier alternative to butter, but once you understand what goes into making it, you might think twice before spreading it on your toast. The journey of margarine starts with vegetable oils like soybean, sunflower, or palm oil. These oils undergo intense heating and chemical processes, including hydrogenation, to achieve that solid, buttery consistency. Unfortunately, this process often creates harmful trans fats, which are notorious for raising bad cholesterol, lowering good cholesterol, and increasing the risk of heart disease. But it doesn't stop there. To make margarine visually appealing and palatable, manufacturers use chemical solvents like hexane to extract oils, followed by bleaching and deodorizing to remove unpleasant colors and smells. Let's not forget the emulsifiers and artificial colors added to achieve that smooth texture and bright yellow hue. It's a far cry from the simple, churned cream that makes butter. The story gets even darker with the vegetable oils themselves. Many of these are derived from genetically modified crops, treated with glyphosate, a chemical linked to numerous health and environmental concerns. Combine this with the high levels of omega-6 fats found in margarine, which can lead to inflammation and chronic illnesses like cardiovascular disease and diabetes, and you've got a recipe for trouble. To top it off, preservatives like BHT, flagged in studies for their potential toxicity and cancer-promoting effects, are added to extend shelf life. All this effort just to produce a product that, let's be honest, doesn't even taste as good as butter. Have you ever heard of kopi luwak, the coffee made from beans that have passed through the digestive system of a civet? At first, it sounds like a quirky, luxurious treat. After all, it's one of the most expensive coffees in the world, with a single cup costing upwards of $35. The idea is that the Asian palm civet, a nocturnal animal native to Southeast Asia, eats ripe coffee cherries, and its digestive enzymes ferment the beans, supposedly resulting in a smoother, less acidic coffee. But behind this exotic story lies a bitter truth. In the wild, civets enjoy a varied diet of fruits, insects, and seeds. However, commercial kopi luwak farms confine these solitary animals to tiny cages and force-feed them coffee cherries to maximize production. This unnatural diet leads to malnutrition and health issues for the civets. Moreover, their nocturnal habits and need for solitary living are disregarded, causing immense stress as they're kept awake for tourists to gawk at during the day. Adding insult to injury, the kopi luwak industry is rife with fraud. Studies estimate that over 80% of kopi luwak sold worldwide is fake, often just regular coffee beans marketed at a premium price. Even when the coffee is authentic, beans from caged civets are of inferior quality compared to those produced by wild, free-roaming civets, which naturally select the best cherries. Ethical coffee luwak is nearly impossible to find, so why not opt for a high-quality, ethically sourced coffee instead? If you're a burger lover, it's time to take a closer look at what you're biting into. While that juicy patty might seem like the ultimate comfort food, there are plenty of reasons why burgers, especially from fast food chains, should stay off your menu. First, let's talk about calories. A single fast food burger can pack over 1,000 calories, half of your daily allowance. Combine that with fries and a soda, and you've probably exceeded your entire calorie budget in one meal. Not to mention, these burgers are loaded with cholesterol and sodium, both of which can wreak havoc on your heart health. High cholesterol increases the risk of heart attacks and strokes, while too much sodium puts extra strain on your arteries. But here's where it gets even more unsettling. That burger patty isn't just from one cow. It's likely a mix of meat from several cows, sometimes from different countries. This increases the risk of contamination and the spread of harmful bacteria like E. coli. Speaking of which, beef recalls due to E. coli are all too common. And then there's the infamous pink slime, an ammonia-treated filler often added to meat to stretch production. Ammonia in your food? No, thank you. When we talk about vanilla flavor, we don't mean the vanilla that comes from the sweet aromatic beans of the vanilla orchid. Instead, many of the vanilla-flavored products you encounter are made with artificial ingredients, and their origins might surprise or even disgust you. One unexpected source of artificial vanilla flavor is castoreum, a secretion from the anal glands of beavers. Yes, you heard that right. Beavers use castoreum to mark their territory, but its scent has a unique quality that can mimic the aroma of vanilla. While it's rarely used in foods today due to its expense, just knowing this fact might make you think twice about where your vanilla comes from. More commonly, artificial vanilla is made from vanillin, a synthetic compound derived from sources like lignin, a byproduct of wood pulp, or guaiacol, which comes from clove oil. While these ingredients might not sound as shocking as castoreum, they're still far removed from the natural, wholesome vanilla pods you might imagine. This reliance on artificial flavoring is part of a broader trend in processed foods. Unlike mechanical processing, which can preserve a food's natural qualities, chemical processing strips away much of the nutritional value, replacing it with synthetic additives. Artificial vanilla is a prime example of this practice, offering a cheaper and faster alternative to the labor-intensive cultivation of real vanilla. So next time you savor a vanilla-flavored treat, take a moment to consider its origins. Be honest, how many times a day do you add tomato ketchup to everything you eat? Whether it's French fries, burgers, samosas, or even a plate of Maggi, ketchup seems to have become an irreplaceable companion for all things savory. Its sweet and tangy taste is undeniably satisfying, but have you ever stopped to consider what's really inside that tempting red bottle? Spoiler alert, it's not as innocent as it seems. Store-bought ketchup is packed with sugar preservatives, high fructose corn syrup, and a staggering amount of sodium. These ingredients may enhance the flavor, but they can wreak havoc on your body. Just a few tablespoons can contribute to weight gain due to the sugar overload and lead to obesity over time. Plus, that high fructose corn syrup, it's linked to heart disease and an increase in triglycerides. Bad news for your cardiovascular health. The acidity of ketchup, thanks to citric and malic acids, is another problem. These acids can aggravate conditions like acid reflux and heartburn, especially for those with sensitive stomachs. And let's not forget the preservatives and sodium, which can cause inflammation, joint problems, and even increase the risk of kidney stones by contributing to calcium buildup in the body. If that wasn't enough, regular consumption of ketchup can also mess with your insulin levels. The excessive sugars and additives put unnecessary strain on your body, potentially leading to long-term issues like diabetes. Now get ready for something really disgusting. Your favorite red foods and drinks might be dyed with crushed bugs. Many products on the market use a red food dye derived from the cochineal insect, a tiny critter found mainly in Peru and the Canary Islands. The dye, often labeled as carmine, cochineal extract, or natural red 4, is extracted by drying, crushing, and processing these insects. Shockingly, it takes about 70,000 bugs to make just 1 pound of this vibrant red pigment. Cochineal dye has been used for centuries. In the 1500s, Europeans discovered that the Aztecs were using it to create stunning, long-lasting red fabrics. Today, however, it's not just used for textiles, it's in your food, cosmetics, and even medication. Yogurts, candies, lipsticks, and coatings are all common culprits. While the dye doesn't pose any known health risks for most people, it can trigger severe allergic reactions in some. Plus, if you're vegan, vegetarian, or follow a kosher diet, this ingredient is definitely one to avoid. Here's the kicker. While the idea of eating bugs might make your stomach churn, the alternatives could be even worse. Synthetic red dyes, like red number 40, are made from coal or petroleum byproducts and have been linked to far more serious health risks, including hyperactivity in children and potential carcinogenic effects. If you don't want to eat maggots, it might be time to rethink that can of mushrooms in your pantry. While it sounds like the plot of a horror movie, the truth is that canned mushrooms are legally allowed to contain a certain number of maggots and mites. According to the FDA, it's economically impractical to eliminate all natural contaminants from food, meaning some rather unsettling additions make it to your plate. Here's the breakdown. In a batch of canned mushrooms, an average of less than 20 maggots per 600 grams is acceptable, with no more than 5 being over 2 millimeters long. And it doesn't stop at maggots. The FDA also permits up to 75 mites per 100 grams of mushrooms. Yes, those tiny spider-like arthropods could be lurking in your next stir-fry. The good news, maggots and mites are generally harmless if consumed in small quantities, and maggots are even considered safe to eat by themselves. The bad news, they can carry diseases if they've been in contact with rotting matter. While the FDA assures us that these defects pose minimal risk to health, the idea of munching on maggot-laced mushrooms is enough to turn most stomachs. The solution? Fresh vegetables. By swapping canned produce for fresh options, you can take control of what's going into your meals. Sure, washing and prepping fresh mushrooms takes a little more effort, but isn't it worth it to avoid unwanted extras in your dinner? Speaking of foods you should cut off the menu, let's talk about bread, the staple food we often take for granted. While you might think store-bought bread is just a simple mix of flour, yeast, water, and maybe a few additives, the reality is far stranger. Believe it or not, some brands use human hair to make their bread softer and easier to handle. The culprit here is an amino acid called L-cysteine, a common dough conditioner that softens bread and speeds up production. While L-cysteine can be derived from various sources like duck feathers or synthetic processes, human hair is often the cheapest and most efficient option. Much of this hair is collected from barbershops and salons around the world, particularly in countries like China. It's then processed and added to bread dough, leaving many of us unknowingly biting into an unsettling ingredient. The good news is that not all bread contains L-cysteine, and when it does, it's generally considered safe to eat. Regulatory bodies like the FDA ensure it meets strict purity standards. But even if it's technically safe, knowing where it comes from can be a deal breaker for many. If this revelation has ruined your appetite for store-bought bread, don't worry. You've got options. Supporting local bakeries that use high-quality natural ingredients is a great alternative. Or better yet, try baking your own bread at home. It's easier than you think, and you'll have complete control over what goes into it. Remember when we talked at the beginning about the seafood industry and Elon Musk? Well, we're not done with that yet. While shrimp may be a favorite on dinner tables worldwide, the process behind farming them has some serious environmental and ethical concerns that might make you reconsider your next shrimp cocktail. Farm-raised shrimp, also known as aquaculture shrimp, have grown popular as a solution to overfishing. On the surface, it sounds like a win, less strain on marine ecosystems and a sustainable way to meet global demand. But dig a little deeper, and you'll uncover a murky reality. Most farmed shrimp are imported from Southeast Asia and Central America, regions where mangrove forests are being destroyed to make way for shrimp ponds. Mangroves are vital ecosystems that store carbon and provide habitats for countless species, and their destruction releases massive amounts of CO2 into the atmosphere. Then there's the pollution. Shrimp farms dump waste, chemicals and hormones into local waters, damaging nearby ecosystems and threatening aquatic life. Add to this the unethical practices some farms have been accused of, such as human trafficking and forced labor, and it's clear that shrimp farming isn't the guilt-free solution it's often portrayed to be. Even wild-caught shrimp have their problems. Trawling methods destroy ocean floors and result in bycatch, non-target species caught and killed in shrimp nets. It's wasteful, destructive, and puts even more pressure on marine life. So what's a shrimp lover to do? Luckily, there are plant-based shrimp alternatives made from konjac root and other innovative ingredients. Gummy candy might look fun and harmless, but don't let their colorful, fruity appearance fool you. They're not doing your body any favors. Whether it's gummy bears, worms, or any other squishy treat, these sugary snacks are loaded with artificial ingredients and can wreak havoc on your health. First, let's talk digestion. When you eat gummy candy, you're consuming a mix of gelatin, sugar, and artificial additives. Once inside your stomach, they don't break down easily. Imagine leaving a few gummies in a glass of water overnight. They swell up, turning into a bizarre jelly-like substance. That's what happens in your stomach. The result? Bloating, discomfort, and even constipation. These candies don't just sit lightly, they sit heavily. And then there's the sugar. Gummy candy is packed with it, causing a spike in your blood sugar levels that gives you a quick energy rush but leaves you crashing soon after. Over time, regular consumption of such high-sugar snacks can contribute to weight gain, insulin resistance, and an increased risk of diabetes, plus those fruity flavors you love. They're just artificial chemicals, far removed from anything resembling actual fruit. Let's not forget the additives and food dyes, which are linked to hyperactivity in kids and other health concerns. Combine all these factors, and gummy candy turns out to be a recipe for digestive trouble, poor energy levels, and long-term health issues. If the composition of burgers and gummies surprised you, wait until you hear about hot dogs. This iconic BBQ staple might look innocent in its tidy bun, but the truth about what goes into them is far from appetizing. Hot dogs are made through a process called meat emulsion, where pork, beef, or poultry is finely ground with fats, spices, and curing agents into a batter-like consistency. But here's the kicker. Many hot dogs, especially cheaper ones, include parts of the animal that you'd rather not think about, like gristle, fat, skin, and even organs. Mechanical processes strip meat from bones, often sweeping up connective tissues, blood vessels, and other scraps in the process. Add a blend of sodium nitrates and artificial flavorings, and you've got yourself a hot dog. Speaking of nitrates and nitrites, these preservatives, while keeping your hot dog shelf stable and colorful, come with a darker side. They've been linked to an increased risk of cancers, especially in the digestive tract. Pair this with the high sodium and saturated fat content in hot dogs, and you're looking at a recipe for cardiovascular issues, high blood pressure, and obesity. What's more, a study by Clear Labs found that 2% of hot dogs contain human DNA. While this doesn't mean hot dogs include human flesh, it does highlight concerning hygiene standards during processing. Alarmingly, even some vegetarian-labeled hot dogs tested positive for human DNA, raising more questions than answers. The last thing that would come to mind when you think of chewing gum is a sheep. However, you might be surprised to learn that lanolin, a waxy secretion from the sebaceous glands of sheep's skin, could be a part of your favorite gum. Lanolin, which is commonly used in skincare products to keep your skin soft and hydrated, also plays a role in making gum chewable by being a component of the gum base. That's not exactly something you'd expect in a sweet, minty stick of gum, is it? Modern chewing gum is a far cry from its Stone Age ancestor, which was made from the sap of the sapodilla tree. Today, gum base is primarily composed of synthetic materials like polyisobutylene, a rubbery substance also used to make inner tubes, and polyvinyl acetate, another synthetic resin. These materials are combined with plasticizers to achieve the perfect balance of firmness and elasticity, making gum soft and pliable once warmed in your mouth. Manufacturers also blend in sweeteners, flavors, and other additives to create the irresistible varieties we see on store shelves. But here's the kicker. Since gum base is considered an industry standard, manufacturers aren't required to disclose its specific components. So while you're enjoying that burst of flavor, you're also chewing on a mix of synthetic rubber, resins, and possibly lanolin. It must have happened to you that after a long day or a sleepless night, you've reached for an energy drink to keep yourself going. Those brightly colored cans promise a quick boost, but have you ever wondered what's actually inside? From taurine to artificial colors, the ingredients in energy drinks are as complex as the buzz they provide, and not always in a good way. Let's start with taurine, an ingredient often highlighted on the can. Taurine naturally occurs in foods like meat and fish, and your body uses it to regulate energy production, balance fluids, and process bile acids. The taurine in energy drinks is usually synthetic or animal-derived, which might not be a problem on its own. However, it's the other ingredients that raise eyebrows. Energy drinks often contain high levels of caffeine and sugar, or worse, artificial sweeteners and chemical additives. While these drinks can provide a temporary energy boost, they can also cause dehydration, jitters, and difficulty sleeping, especially when consumed in large quantities. Over time, excessive sugar can contribute to weight gain, insulin resistance, and dental problems, while too much caffeine can elevate your heart rate and blood pressure. For children and teenagers, these drinks are even more problematic. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, young people should avoid energy drinks altogether due to their stimulant effects and potential health risks. Even for adults, it's worth monitoring your caffeine and sugar intake from these beverages to avoid unwanted side effects. When was the last time you reached for a box of fish sticks? Convenient, crispy, and a childhood favorite for many, they've become a staple in freezers worldwide. But before you dip that breaded bite into tartar sauce, let's take a closer look at what's really behind those golden crusts. First, the fish itself. Many fish sticks come from farm-raised fish, which might sound harmless, but often raises serious concerns. In fish farms, the diet is far from natural, relying on soy, corn, and even antibiotics to prevent disease in overcrowded, unsanitary conditions. This leads to fish that lack the omega-3 fatty acids essential for heart health, meaning you're not getting the nutritional benefits you might expect. Worse still, some brands fail to disclose the source of their fish, leaving you guessing about what you're eating. Then there's the frying process. Fish sticks are typically fried and packed with unhealthy fats, including trans fats and saturated fats. These fats increase the risk of heart disease, stroke, and obesity. A serving of fish sticks can also contain around 9 grams of fat, with 2 grams being saturated fat, not exactly heart-friendly. Sodium is another sneaky culprit. With around 300 mg of sodium per serving, fish sticks can easily push you over your daily limit. High sodium intake is linked to high blood pressure, a significant risk factor for cardiovascular disease. Have you ever wondered what's really inside the foods you eat every day? Let us know in the comments and subscribe to our channel for more.